Hello, you magnificent manifestors. Back in action with my latest interview tonight. Today, actually, it's Saturday afternoon, 2 p.m. in the afternoon. Beautiful day out here in Ontario, Canada. And I know my good friend Brian Gillard is having some good weather because I can see the smile on his face right now. For those of you that are watching us live, share the video. Give us some love. Don't go to the thumbs up. That's the low end of the scale. We want to see hearts. We want to see cares. We want to know where you're watching from. By all means, connect, follow, subscribe, hit that notifications bell. Wherever you're watching me from and following us from here on this show today, make sure you engage. Let the algorithm know we're here and follow that tune if you're watching the replay and you're not able to catch us live. Again, share the video and let us know in the comments where you're watching from. Give us the hashtag replay and rock on, my friends. Feel free to ask any questions if you're here live. You can even put questions in the comments if you're watching the replay, and Brian, I'll make sure Brian sees them when we get back to you. If you don't know me, I'm Coach Dean Brown, and this is the Paradigm Changers live interview show. I do high performance lead generation, business, and executive coaching. And of course, I'm a serial entrepreneur, not a serial killer, a serial entrepreneur. But I love everybody that's going to be here today. Looking forward to sharing with you my special friend today. And of course, we want to know that you're here. So make sure you leave comments. You have to give StreamYard permission. Click on that StreamYard link so we know who you are, what you have to say, and we can let you be part of the program. And of course, we want you to be part of the program. And there's my good friend, Brian. Brian, welcome to the show.
Good to be here.
Let us know who you are, brother.
Yeah, Dean. It's very grateful to be here. My name's Brian Gillard. I'm a mindset coach. I specialize in dating and relationships. It's been a long journey to get here, but I'm very grateful to be in this seat today. So thanks for having me.
Awesome, brother, and a real honor to have you here. You are a relationship healer, in my estimation. You're a specialist that does things like nobody else does, because of the things that you've been through in your life, because of the experiences that you've had, the training that you've had, the place that you are, who you are, what you offer to your clients, my friend. I'm going to just go through a couple of little, let people know you kind of questions, and you just go ahead and off the top of your head, answer them. Let us know who you are from the heart. Brother, what is your most favorite word?
Yes.
I like it. See, that's excellent. And simple, quick answer. Beautiful. What is your least favorite word, brother?
It's pretty simple. No.
I love the logic here. Now, here's a tricky one. What turns you on? What excites you? Let's get your flow going. Yeah.
Progress, acceptance.
Progress.
Yeah.
Acceptance. Awesome. What turns you off?
A negative attitude.
Yes, indeed. What sound or noise do you love?
I love the sound of a guitar.
Nice. For sure. Beautiful music. Yeah, gotta love the fact of music. It is part of our existence at a most fundamental level. What sound or noise do you hate or not like? If you don't want to say the word hate, that you don't like.
I don't like when like plastic wrappers are being fooled around with and anytime that happens, I pick up on it, and it just irks me to my core for some reason. So
the kind of thing that would wake you up from a deep sleep.
Yeah.
Now, here's a tricky one, and this is an open show, so if it happens to be an F-bomb that comes out of your mouth, that's okay. What is your favorite curse word?
It's definitely fuck, for sure. I'm fuck that shit all day type of guy.
Yeah.
Oh, there's two for you.
There we go.
I can't. Sorry, Mom. I can't. Guarantee that I will be able to withhold those 4-letter curse words today. But that's just how I express myself.
There you go. And being your authentic self is the key factor, because people resonate to who you really are. Don't hold yourself back, brother. So next question. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt or practice?
Oh, man, I'm an artist at heart. through and through. So being a musician, I think it's the most powerful medium out there, especially in my life. So definitely being a musician or an actor is second or third definitely in my book.
Awesome. Well, at least the number one thing you love is actually what you're doing. That's important, my friend. So here's one for you. What profession would you not want to be involved in or doing?
I respect this line of work a lot, but it would be really hard to be a plumber. Just knowing every day what you're going to face, or not know, for that matter. Kind of scary thinking about it.
Yeah, there's a lot of shit involved in being a plumber.
Oh yeah, there's a lot to it. I respect it very much and have considered that occupation for myself, but there's just too much in that that could happen every day that I would just absolutely hate.
There you go. If you believe heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say to you when you arrive there?
Finally. Finally, you made it.
Yeah, I hear you, buddy. I got a quick joke about that, if you don't mind hearing a joke. So this lawyer ends up at heaven, and he just happens to look over, and there's a priest beside him. They're entering the gates of heaven together. St. Peter meets them there and says, "Oh, I'm happy to have both of you guys here. Let me take you to your accommodations." So the politician and the preacher follow St. Peter up to this beautiful palace, and they get led to this door. The St. Peter opens the door, and it's just like a basic bedroom, a bed, a bathroom, a kitchenette, that sort of stuff, and says to the preacher, "Here you go. Here's your accommodations." And then St. Peter says to the lawyer, "Okay, let's go to your accommodations." And they go down another hall, and he opens up this double door into a grand suite with all kinds of diamonds and gold and glitter, and just like a palace in itself. And St. Peter says to the lawyer, he says, "Here you go. Here's your accommodations." And the lawyer, being the lawyer, looks at St. Peter. He says, "Wait a second, I'm confused." He said, "How is it that preacher just gets a basic room, minimal suite, and I get this palatial setup that is like for a king?" And St. Peter says, "Well, we have hundreds of thousands of preachers. You're the first lawyer."
That's a good one. I might have to steal that one day. That's
and the irony is, it took you a couple of seconds, and it has always been that way. Every time I've shared that joke, it's taken a couple of seconds to get to that place where the person goes, "Oh, yeah. Lawyers are not normally going to heaven, are they?"
We do not.
So anyways, do you have a joke to share with us, or do you always come up blank when someone challenges you on that?
No, I'm definitely a blanker outer on that one. I got like a ton of dad jokes, but
dad jokes. I like dad jokes. I know a lot. I have 5 kids, so I know lots of dad jokes. All right, brother, time to get down to the meat of the interview. Are you ready to tell the world who you are? And if so, I would like you to start with share with us your specific area of experience. Not only that, but the story about what happened in your life to lead you and inspire you to being the amazing person that you are in this, and maybe throw in an interesting fact about your background that shaped who you are today.
Oh wow, yeah, let's cut to the core of it, huh?
So yeah, absolutely.
Wow. So I've always been a student of personal development for many years, and and having a lot of struggles, and I would say for me, in my adolescence and in my young adulthood was definitely drugs and alcohol. But at the same token, having this real high moral obligation to, be great at whatever it is that, my potential can offer. Mm-hmm. And, in that period, it was just this dichotomy is, you kind of have some delusion there because, you're kind of circling between I should do better, but then you're also in your addictive behavior. Mm-hmm. And it kind of leads you to a bad place over time. And you don't know why. And I'm, what drives me as a person is I have to know the why. I don't know why that is, but if I don't understand that, I will, obsess about that problem until I get to the thick of it. And it's a great, attribute to have. And I would say to a degree, it can also kind of hinder me. Right. So in that process, it's been great to be able to help people change along the way. And that's what led me to being a life coach. Right. And so what was interesting in that was it's very surface level driven in my now understanding of the mind, how it operates, and how you can actually implement that change for people. So I've always had this drive to, be better any way, shape, or form. And I was always struggling in my coping mechanisms. And at the same token, always yearning for love, and wanting to be in a good, meaningful relationship at this. So you have, and just as much as anyone else, right? And so you're kind of in this mixed bag situation where you're treating yourself terribly, but you want better things in your life. And so, I kind of got caught up in those negative patterns of behavior. And at the same time was, a life coach and helping people along the way, achieve better results for themselves. And in that time period, I've helped, since, I would say in the last 6 years of being a coach, and I've been a mindset coach more so by upping my skills and what and my certifications, have really seen a huge difference in the outcome of that in working with people's personal lives. So prior to becoming a mindset coach, is very surface level and setting up these strategies and opportunities. And there's a huge we're doing great, now we're doing bad, we're doing great. And then post being a mindset coach, really being able to implement those change, I was able to ascertain for my own self, looking back, and in hindsight's always 2020, exactly what happened, why I was struggling so bad, what happened to this. And it led me to commit to being a dating and relationship specialist, because it's such a big part of my story. It's such a big part of who I am and what I've become, because without those challenges of my past marriage, I would never have understood the why of why I was putting so much expectation and so much resolve in external successes, whether that be a relationship, whether that be money, whether that be, my body and what it looks like. And I never was able to heal and identify what was really going on inside me.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. And so I guess where I'm going to go into, is, kind of what led me to specialize in dating relationships, because prior to focusing on that, I helped executives, artists, actors, rappers, and it was more of a personal development type of situation. And post that, I really, kind of married into this niche, and really mainly because relationships are the perfect mirror of what's going on in your internal state. If you can get to a really safe and healthy place with that, you won't allow what's externally going on in your circumstances to allow your internal state. So I feel like I'm kind of beating around the bush here. And so I guess telling that story and identifying why what happened in my failed marriage was the result of ultimately what turning something what could be look as terrible into my greatest strength today.
And that's a beautiful story, brother. And not to interrupt you, but I want to point out that to the people that are watching us live right now and people that follow up and watch this replay, as you've just described almost everybody out there. And I want to reiterate, I want to confirm, I want to encourage people to realize that is why you, Brian, are such a powerful influencer in your niche, because you've been there and you understand what it means to have a relationship that needs healing, personally, my relationship challenges started when my mother was taken away when I was 3 for alcoholism, and my father he just chose a woman to be my mother because as the mayor of the town we grew up in, or I grew up in, I was perceived as a young child that needed a mother, and what he did was he brought in a lady that abused me. So my relationship challenges come from way back, not just from relationships with my wife or girlfriends or that sort of thing. And it was a powerful thing for me to get through this. I wish I had known somebody like you when I was younger and needed that. So yeah, brother. And so just quickly, if you wanted to finish that thought, I apologize for interrupting. I got my tongue cut around my eye teeth there. I couldn't see what I was saying. But at the same point in time, finish your thought, or did you want me to ask a next question?
Yeah, I guess to go ahead and finish that, I think this is all patterns and behavior is really what I'm getting at. And then, well, I think later on in the segment, I definitely want to go to those core root problems. And I think that's something that if we can really alleviate these core root problems, it really ends a lot of suffering in our lives. And we don't, kind of stay in those patterns of behavior and that really result to, our own betrayal, along the way. And we kind of lose that. So in my experience and why, dating and relationships has become so important to me is essentially I don't want, other people to also experience that because it almost ended me. So, to quickly cap, my marriage, in a public setting, I just want to say I'm so grateful for that. And I got my daughter from that marriage and my ex-wife, and, we're amicable to this day. And I would say that, we were just the perfect pair with, essentially in the sense of left to our own devices of how we, cope with things. I was, very much an addict and an alcoholic. And, she, also exuded a lot of behaviors of codependency. And that's just the perfect match, right? Because, you need to take care of me and I'm going to give you the attention because you're taking care of me, right? And so in that type of setting. And so over time, I think what I really identified and learned from that was in times when I wasn't able to satisfy her needs for, the codependent self, and was all, kind of taking care of myself in a selfish manner, that would result in going outside of our relationship. And, and I took that as being cheated on, in the sense of something's wrong with me deep down. Like I'm unlovable. Right. And that type of feeling, over, the course of our marriage, I would say, and again, I want to just coin out that, it wasn't always bad. Right. There was a lot of great moments in that relationship, but at the same token, just to kind of hone it down, it was a lot of cycle of that over our period of our relationship. And so when you feel unlovable, when you feel like you don't accept yourself, there's no amount of drugs or alcohol that will satisfy that feeling. And I had to learn that. And that was the solution, but it was also my demise because as an alcoholic, once I start, I can't stop, essentially, to keep it short. You think you can, but it's just, you're just a big delusion.
That's right.
And towards the end, it really led me to a really bad place of I'm trapped, I'm stuck. This is, the last time that, the cheating occurred, I took this to a whole nother level, and I didn't see a way out. So I got, I handled it. I got really drunk one night. I woke up hungover and didn't go to work. And the next best thing for me was to hang myself. And it was, I never felt so much peace in that moment. Like, thank God it's over. Thank God I don't have to do this all, over and over again. Thank God this is, finally, this is, done with this. And I got a phone call from my best friend happened to call me, and literally it was just like,
just previous to you committing the act.
30 seconds.
Wow. Universe has amazing timing, brother.
It really does. It really does. And so from that moment, it led me to, I talked me out of it, and it led me to, go into rehab and getting the help that I truly needed. And I'm saying all this to a place of, I remember this time in rehab, like being on the floor, I was feeling these uncomfortable, overwhelming emotions. And I was around a lot of people. I just need to get away from everybody. And I found a place in like a hallway, and I just started bawling my eyes out and really feeling everything that I was running from, the whole time. So that was the first experience. And I remember this counselor comes up to me and was like, "What's going on?" And I was like, "I just feel it. I'm feeling all these emotions." And she just looked at me and said, "Good." Kept walking. And I was like, wow, like, all right, great. And that was my first experience, was like, you got to feel it to heal it.
That's it.
And that was something I've been running from for probably my whole life.
Yep.
And until that moment. And that really got me going towards, this healing environment for myself, becoming the safe place for myself, becoming accepting these uncomfortable emotions. And 4.5 years later, it leads me to this seat today. And it's been great to unravel this mystery of why did I allow that to happen to myself? Why did I take myself there? Yep. And to be able, I'm just, honestly, just super grateful for life and experience, including that marriage, to show me that, because that's allowing me to help, men and women experiencing the same troubles to this day.
Beautiful. And previously in what you were sharing, I was tweaked by what you were saying with how you and your wife enabled each other. And it worked until it didn't work. And the only reason was that you didn't realize it never worked until you got to that place where you understood the why. And even though you were asking yourself the why, and I'm only speaking from personal experience in reflection of what you've said, because we're both very capable coaches. We have different niches. We help different people do different things. But the end result is we're helping create or facilitate a transformation that gets everybody closer to the why. And if we can't do that for ourselves, we can't do it for other people. And this is the beauty that makes you such a great relationship healer, because you know how to relationship heal because you've done it for yourself. And this is the key. Anybody out there that's looking for help, if you're getting someone that's fresh out of school and hasn't lived their life down in the gutter, I attempted suicide twice and was saved by the universe, who sent one person both times at the best time. There couldn't have been a better time. 30 seconds, like you say, is the key. You've got to be at the bottom to realize you got to go. The only direction is up, right? You can only heal from here. And the whole point is we need to understand our why in order to heal. We need to feel it to heal it, like you said. And that's a powerful, powerful truth in everybody's life. There is nobody out there that's hurting that can't relate to this. And if they can't relate to this, they haven't gone far enough down that hole. They haven't gotten close enough to the bedrock. A lot of people say Jesus is the rock, and you have to get to the bottom to find the rock in order to understand and truly appreciate, embrace, grasp the truth of the why for yourself, and what your truth is and what your path needs to become after that, and what it takes to heal. So, brother, if you wanted to add something to that, go ahead. Otherwise, I got another question for you.
Yeah, no, I think that, thank you for sharing that. And, I honestly think that the universe has like brought us together because we've, kind of experienced those same paths. And, and so I've, I guess in telling my story, it was, it's just important to know is like, I've helped, it's been interesting to have such resistance even to tell that story, but in the same sense, and to kind of marrying into the niche, because I've experienced those transformations on so many different other issues.
Yeah.
And what was the most weirdest thing is that it's all the same stuff, right?
Yep.
It's literally all the same stuff. And so, I think, in sharing, hopefully we can get to, through some of that stuff and the why and be able to share that with the people. I think there would be some great takeaways here in this conversation, but yeah, that was pretty much it. I'd love to hear what else you have.
So, brother, I was going to say that this conversation is all about lessons, the lessons we have learned and the lessons that we need to learn. And having mentioned lessons, I'm really curious if you can share with us what you feel is your most successful or impactful or transformational lesson in life.
Absolutely. The key thing for me was life is happening for you, not to you.
Mm-hmm. First part of the banner, life is happening for you, not to you, brother. Keep going.
It's not there for no reason. It was just,
right.
It was the main token that flipped everything around, because it really allows you to get the lessons that you need. Because the flip coin is that it's happening to you. And when it's happening, which is not true. And you've attracted it, and you place some responsibility in that. But the main thing is understanding that it takes you out of that victim mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Because if life is happening to you, then you're always in effect. You're always at circumstance.
You're reacting.
You lose all of your power to whatever is happening to you in that moment.
Yeah.
But when you allow it to happen for you, now you're putting yourself in a power seat. And you're able to receive lessons that you're able to evolve from, so that whatever you're experiencing, you're getting out of.
Yep.
And I think that was the main thing for me in that, in that state was, back in my 20s, and what I just talked about was that everything was happening to me.
Yeah.
It was my fault, and this is happening to me. I'm the victim here. Why did you do this to me? Type of situation. And it allowed me to reiterate those negative patterns and behaviors that didn't serve me at all.
That's right.
And I think that was a great, one of the greatest lessons I ever had, because it freed me from being the victim.
100%. And the word that hasn't been spoken yet, but has been intimated, has been suggested, and is the key factor here in this conversation, is responsibility. When the world is happening to you, you're not taking responsibility for your own thoughts and actions. When you finally understand that you need to be responsible for yourself and everything related to yourself, that's when the coin flips or the stick switches and you go from negative to positive, and realize, wait a second, this is happening for me, not to me. And until you can grasp the why, take responsibility for who you are, as not only who you've become, but who you want to become, and start taking realization that it's time to switch from victim to victor, and take that responsibility and make actions towards the positive, you're always going to remain in that place where you're blaming everybody else for your own shit. And that is the cusp of when we realize that every lesson, every challenge, every problem is the universe saying, hey, now it's time to get into a place where I'm taking responsibility for everything, because I want to be responsible for the end result and be acceptable and not enabling the victimization, the victimhood, and actually live the life of the victor. And we have a good friend of mine on here right now, and he says, well said between both of us. This man right here, Mike Power, good to have you with us today, brother, is a big part of my life, and I'm a big part of his life. There's a long story into what happened between me and Mike, but it's all about relationship healing, believe it or not. And this whole thing that we're talking about right now is the greatest challenge in society, to become responsible for who you are and what you do. My brother, of course, everybody starts their career or gets to their career with a lot of challenge, a lot of what people call failures. I don't believe in failure. I call it the lesson, not failure. But what is one thing that you wish you would have known before you became a relationship coach?
Giving myself the permission to fail.
Yep.
I think that was something imperative to know. I had this like whatever attitude for a lot of my life, but it was just honestly it was just a projection of the dichotomy of how much I actually cared. It was like, I was overcompensating for how much I really cared. And this perfectionism type mentality is the perfect projection of procrastination and getting started in your journey, accepting who you are and all your faults and all your greatest potential.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just in that instance of giving yourself the permission to fail, just gives you so much freedom to just be and going through that experience. And to second on what you were talking about, like taking radical responsibility of your life is just tremendously powerful, because it gets, if you take some responsibility and you're like, okay, let's see how my life gets from here. It's getting a little bit better. Imagine if you take responsibility for all of it, everything, and that way it really gives you, puts you in that driver's seat, like you said.
100%. And that we're talking about power here, because responsibility is a reflection of your personal power and how you're wielding it. If you're not taking full responsibility, you're not using your full power. If you're taking full responsibility, you're employing, you're embracing, you're projecting your full power, because people know the difference. At least people like me and you, we know the difference. When we're talking to somebody, we know if they're in a place of responsibility or reactability, where they're reacting to the external world and letting the external world drive their thoughts, their feelings, their words, their actions, which is the four pillars of the law of attraction. When we take back our power by taking full responsibility, we are now in a place where we do not tolerate the loss or the reduction of that power, because we recognize what it means for our future, for our relationships, as well as our mindset. It gets us away from the end of the rope, or out of that car where we're feeding the exhaust into, which is the approach I was taking. And it gives you that opportunity to say, wait, no more. I know the wrong here. I'm not willing to blame someone else for my wrongs or my poor decisions. That's bullshit. And the thing is, a lot of people live that way until their dying breath. And on that dying breath, they realize, oh my God, look what I've done to myself. Look what I've done to all these people in my life. Look what I could have become. And that's called regret, my friend. And you and I are the kind of people that help people avoid living in regret, taking the opportunity to stop being that person that's full of regret. Now, having said that, my friend, what advice would you give to someone that is trying to pursue a career like yours?
You always have to be your number one client. Always.
That's beautiful.
And, we're all human, coaches too. And I think that's what, I guess one of my greatest fears is, preaching, right? Preaching, the good fight and, personal development and mindset. And then, but you're not acting in accordance to that. And I'm definitely have failed, to that on occasion, without a doubt. But by remaining in that, your number one client, you're always employed. but mainly because at the same token, you're always on your game. You're always, implementing what you're talking about, not because of the principles and why they're important, but because you get to live by it and living through that. And only when you live through that, you're able to help other people achieve that, because you see that in them, but also they see that in you, because you're leading by example.
That's right.
This is a leadership position, 100%. And, if you're not willing to be that person, then at the same token, you're, what we just talked about, you're giving yourself a way out.
I agree. And you don't want to give yourself a way out. You want to, one of the things that I like to share with people is thank yourself, don't spank yourself.
Yeah.
But in the most important aspect is there's a lot of people that choose to limit their challenges. And that means don't experience the full lesson that the universe is feeding you. It's handing you a lesson that will get you to the next level. All you got to do is face that fear, get through the fear to realize that the only thing that was there the whole time was you and the falsehood of that fear, false evidence appearing real, right? And a lot of people say, fuck everything and run. There's a lot of different ways to use the FEAR. But the thing is that fear is the biggest mindset killer in the world. And to be in that place where you allow the fear to direct your thoughts, your feelings, your words, and your actions, you're giving away the lesson, the opportunity to learn that lesson, the opportunity to get to the next level of who you can become We want to be the best we can be. And if we don't embrace these challenges, and what I mean by embrace them is a full hug, absorb them, live them, understand them, and understand even more so how you can take that lesson and help someone else through the challenge, which you mentioned earlier. You're here to help other people not go through what you went through. The irony is that in many cases, until they do, they won't even be willing to listen to you. And that's the great challenge. So having spoken of that, this leads me to a place where we all have different foundational resources, things that we found are super powerful in inspiring us, giving us a foundational solidity that gives us strength, courage, the wherewithal to take the next 2 steps, to finish the race, to not give up. And those resources are different for everybody. What would be one of the greatest resources that's helped you get to where you are today?
YouTube.
Hey, you know what? I've been there myself, and I've
learned
a lot of stuff from YouTube.
In this day and age of information, there is so much information to ingest and encounter, and the answer is always not only out there, but it's also within you. Yep. You know, and getting into that safe space of yourself. You know, you can really identify what those answers are and how imperative that is. I think we'll get to that later, but you know, definitely YouTube. There's just so many thought leaders and influencers that really got me going back in, you know, my 20s. Jim Brown, Les Brown, excuse me, Jim Rohn, Les Brown, Tony Robbins, you know, Zig Ziglar, you know, all those thought leaders in personal development. You know, I've listened to them for, you know, so many hours, countless hours, just getting me through whatever crappy day I was going through and whatever I was experiencing, and just to kind of wake up to, you know, my power, my greatness, and what, you know, what I'm going through that day to be, you know, the best version, the highest version of myself that I can. Yeah. YouTube has just been one of the greatest outlets I've ever had.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now, of course, you mentioned something that touches on our inspirers, the people that have been motivators, inspirers. You mentioned, you know, Tony Robbins, Les Brown, Zig Ziglar, all those different individuals. Of those, your greatest mentor or influencers? I've got 2 more: family member and historical figure. But let's start with mentor or influencer. Who has been your greatest mentor or influencer? One person.
Jim Rohn.
And why?
I'd say he just has, you know, the way he lands things in just such a simple way. And it's been great to hear that, because there's just, you know, he'll brush up on the surface of something, and then there's just, it holds so much weight. I love his, you know, his professional speaking is just, you know, it's top notch. It's top of his class for sure.
And family member?
Absolutely. My brother's, you know, gotten me through so much of my life. And, you know, when we were growing up, you know, he's 7 years older than me. And, you know, my mom was, that sort of period of time, you know, as a single mother, you know, he kind of took the reins of kind of looking after me. And, you know, that just really created such a close bond throughout my life that, you know, it really gave me that stability. And of course, him and my stepdad, but, you know, it's just without my brother through those, you know, younger period of times, you know, I had no idea where I'd be, you know, today.
And how about a historical figure? Do you have anybody that influenced you? Our first prime minister, you know, George Washington, I don't know, a historical figure. Who?
Gosh.
Mother Teresa, I don't know. Gandhi, I don't know. I don't want to put a name in your, but I'm stalling so you can think of somebody.
No, I really appreciate that. That you really put me on the hot seat right there. And you know, there's a lot of people that I look up to in history. The first person that comes to mind is Kobe Bryant. I mean, I guess he's a historical figure, not really, but he's kind of this day and age. He's passed. His work ethic and who he was and what he lived by. You know, I highly admired his work ethic, and always thought that was really cool.
Well, he did do some amazing things in the sport, and he really influenced a lot of people to be better than they were currently at the time, or thought they could be, simply because of what he went through and the things that he faced as an individual, as a person, and how he overcame them through just grit and never giving up. So that, that kind of leads us to a situation where we could talk about myths or legends. Now, in our profession, there's a lot of naysayers. There's a lot of people that say that there's no such thing as a good coach. They're all scammers, blah, blah, blah. What would be one myth or problem in this profession that you'd like to debunk or speak against?
I think that it's just super important that you should never underestimate the power of the subconscious mind. I think people are very conscious thoughts, they're conscious thinkers. And, the subconscious mind is, very unconscious, right? So the exact opposite of what conscious thinking is. And my line of work is essentially about bridging the subconscious and connecting it with the conscious. So raising your awareness to be able to understand what's, what you did not see before, and essentially raising your awareness, right? And I think that some people just they dismiss it altogether. Subconscious mind, it's nothing. It's not it's just whatever, but it controls 90% of your thoughts. It's controlling 90% of your behavior. Only 10% or less is conscious. So therein lies your problem in the subconscious mind.
Yeah, powerful. You've touched on something that I love to talk about, which is the law of attraction. Awareness and choice are two things that we're born with. When we come from the spiritual world and come to the physical world, those are the two foundational things that allow us to adapt to our circumstances, awareness and choice. And in those things, we find that our subconscious is where the truth lies. And our conscious is where the confusion lies or lives. And when we can become aware and notice the difference, and on top of that, notice that we're noticing the difference, that's when we can go to a deeper awareness to make deeper choices, to have deeper results or more profound transformational results. And this is the hard part for most of society. When you use the number 90%, 90% of those people don't even want to know the power of the subconscious because they're terrified of how wrong they've been up to this point. And they don't want to be the one that calls themselves out. They would rather have someone else call them out and say, fuck you. Meanwhile, that gives them an out, right? It doesn't give them the impetus to find out the truth about themselves. And there is no greater power for you as an individual, anybody now live, you and me, someone watching this replay, to be in that place of awareness, to know the things that you should be called out on and have the strength of self to call yourself out on them. And that is a powerful, powerful reality in this world. You will always manifest shit if you let the shit be in charge. You need to be in charge. You need to clear away the garbage, clear your energy blocks, release those limiting beliefs, and get to a place where you can truly believe in yourself as an individual, as a force of nature. We all have a little piece of a force of nature that gives us life. Are you going to deny that? Or are you going to embrace that? And when we get into that place where we're choosing to embrace it, our power grows, our influence grows, our strength grows, our authenticity grows, and we start to become the person we were. We came here to be physical, to learn that experience, to contrast ourselves from the spiritual with the physical, and get to that place where we actually understand what it takes to make us into who we need to become. Now, brother, I have lots of questions, and I'm curious. One of the next things that I'm wondering about is, what have you read or listened to recently that's inspired you the greatest to be where you are now?
There's 2 books that come to mind. 3, I could go on. The list is pretty long, but recently I've picked up a book, almost done with it. A book called Trust by Ilya Van Zandt. And it's essentially, reclaiming your trust with yourself, your relationships, God, and, the universe, right? Having faith. And I would also say Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz is probably one of the biggest game changers in my thinking, for sure.
Beautiful, beautiful. I agree. And there's so many books, there's so many influencers, there's so many people that have been through the shit and have had the courage to share with us not only the shit, but how they got out of it or through it or became more because of it, and were able to wipe it from their brow or their shoulder, or just like let it slide off like water off a duck's back and become who they really need to be, so they can help others do the same. So what is it, the one thing that you're trying to accomplish in your career?
I want to make a positive impact on society. If I can help, a handful of people, and those handful of people help a handful of people create a better, loving environment for their families,
Yeah.
their children.
The ripple in the pond.
Absolutely. And if I can impact one person's life and how much that ripple affects, then, my job is completed. It feels very fulfilling in that manner.
Ripple never ends. Yep.
That's the mission. Right?
Beautiful, beautiful. So having asked that question, there has to be something that you're grateful for in life. What would you say are one of or some of the things that you're most grateful for?
I went to a river yesterday and meditated with one of my best friends yesterday. Nice. And I thought about this for a very long time, and it really just opened me up to exactly that question. What am I grateful for? I have the best family, that I could ever ask for. My girlfriend is very supportive. She's so loving. She's a great mother to, our son. We have 2 amazing dogs. And I have the best daughter in the world as well. And it's just I would never imagine that life would give me, all these things that ultimately I asked for. I asked for them, and I was given them, best, the love of my life, and amazing children, and a great home, and this home is just a place where I can thrive with that support, so I'm so grateful for that.
And there's a lot of things to be grateful. Having said that, I can see a list in your mind. We should all have a list of things that we're grateful for, because those are the things that remind us how to be positive and how to keep going. Because you know what? It's a choice. To have positive thoughts or negative thoughts is a choice. And it comes from awareness, like I mentioned earlier, awareness and choice. Out of curiosity, brother, you mentioned things I asked you about things that you're grateful for. What fulfills you within those things that you're grateful for? Do all of those things fulfill you, or is there one thing above all others?
That's a great question. It's ultimately being my best self, is really where I find in sharing that with the ones closest to me. Beautiful. Is the most fulfilling thing. Awesome. Because you could be your best self on an island, and there's only so much that really you can get from that. But when you're able to share that with another person, or multiple people, your best friends, your family, then that is, there's nothing greater than that.
Right on. And on the other end of the stick, what drains you?
Oh God, doing stuff you just don't like doing, like energy sucking activities. I've been in the sales world for a number of years, and when you're just kind of doing things that are outside your passion, definitely drains you over time. And I just highly frown upon it.
I hear you, buddy. Now, you mentioned earlier on so many things that we might or might not talk about. So I'm going to give you the opportunity. What question have I not asked you that you would like to talk about?
Yeah, I appreciate you opening the floor on that. It's just that you touched on that before the book question, and it was really cool to even see you kind of segue to that in a way. And essentially, it's how we're manifesting and how we're attracting experiences in our lives, but it's up to us to interpret them in the right way, and how the subconscious mind comes into play in that as well. And I think what's the best way to understand that is because a lot of people have resistance against that because they don't want anything to be wrong with them.
Yeah.
And the main thing I wanted to clear up is there is nothing wrong with you. It's just honestly that how your programming has occurred throughout your life.
Yes. Yeah.
And how you're able to handle it, to respond. And I loved your, the title of this was Healing Broken Relationships. And so I honestly, like I said, was the why. Why is it important? And so, I'd love to kind of go through and expand on the why, through the subconscious mind, what is really occurring and how is that projecting into our problems and relationships. And, honestly, one of the statistics I find very fascinating is why relationships end prematurely, typically within zero to 3 years.
Yep.
What would your guess be? You probably know this, but what would you think that is?
The reason why relationships fail within 3 years?
Yes.
Oh, I mean, there are numerous reasons, but it all boils down to communication. What is our understanding of the other person's limitations and expectations? But more than anything, it's one person trying to change another and giving up on that. Because first of all, they shouldn't have started trying to change anybody. Just be yourself. Let the influence of who you are be the impetus or the activation of change in others. So I would say a combination of maybe understanding instead of communication, but in that place where you are trying to change others instead of yourself. And you
absolutely fail. There's a lot that goes into it, and I think that it's all kind of peppered around. In my experience, what I know, it all stems from conflict resolution. How you resolve conflicts in those first 3 years of relationships typically is ultimately why they end. Why is that? Because of resentments. Yep. And so you're not communicating your needs, your wants, and things that happen to you, what you're willing to tolerate, communicating healthy boundaries. And so we're kind of going to go backwards, and I kind of like working in that way. But it's essentially, it's not being able to resolve those conflicts in that healthy manner to get through that. And then typically from 3 to 10 years, you kind of lose touch of being friends. You're kind of like this roommate type of situation. And so you have
a resenting roommate
with these resentments and things like that. And then over time, you just kind of go your own way. And so how we kind of go to the core root of the problem, and it's in the subconscious mind. So, in the years that we're born from 0 to 7, we're totally in a subconscious state.
Yep.
And I've heard this a lot from other parents say, I just don't want to fuck up my children. And the truth of the matter is, it's not up to you. All you can do is the best you can, and they're going to kind of follow their own path. But mainly from 0 to 7, you're totally operating at a subconscious state. Yep. And we're defenseless and solely dependent on our parents. So, why that is because we love that child. Yep. And we want to be able to, of course, bring them through this life. And so as we're growing in those ages from 0 to 7, we kind of understand that this love component is super important to our survival. Right. And so the love from our parents, who care for us and is dependent on our survival, in this subconscious state, certain events are occurring to us, and we're picking up these things, and subconscious mind is just, it's a recorder of all events.
Yep.
Throughout our whole life. And it doesn't forget a thing. It's a supercomputer.
Yep.
With infinite storage. And so in this period of 0 to 7, we're picking up all these things that are happening to us, and we're asking this question, who do I have to be or not be in order to be worthy of love?
Yeah.
The love that is critical for my survival. And, as we age through our subconscious operating system, 7 through 10, we become more of a conscious state. And these things that question that we ask ourselves, who do we have to be or not be in order to be loved, is so suppressed and pushed down into our subconscious minds as we age into adolescence, and things are occurring to us. And as we age into adulthood, and, as it's stuffed down further into our unconscious minds, we're encountering emotions that trigger our inner child, that feeling that we need in order for our survival. And, those typically crop up as fear, doubt, overwhelm, uncertainty, and worries. And what we're doing is we're acting out in behavioral patterns that keep us safe. We start to act out in ways that, I need this in order to feel worthy. I need this to feel enough.
Yeah.
right, in order for my survival, so that people love me. And so people act, I think if anyone can get anything out of this conversation today, people act in three different ways. It's typically avoidance, resistance, and reacting. And so 9 times out of 10, what's going on when we're feeling these uncomfortable emotions, we may typically avoid it. And so one thing that we do is we feel, uncomfortable, we feel scared, or we feel overwhelmed. We'll go into, for most entrepreneurs, it's like some next level of success. Or in relationships, to keep that focused, it's I need to get a new girlfriend, right? I need to get to sleep with somebody, right? I'm going through heartbreak. I need to avoid how I'm feeling right now, and I need to get laid. That's like, I've heard that pretty much my whole life, right?
Yep.
Or I need to go into a relationship, so you have these serial relationship people that are cycling through that, and we're just avoiding how we feel. Another thing is, addictions. It's pretty obvious. It's avoiding how we feel. We binge watch Netflix. Food addictions, right? I don't want to feel this. So, I love fried chicken. That's like my go-to, whatever suits you. And sometimes those manifest into addictions, right? And so it's like, I'm avoiding how I feel. I'm going to do drugs or alcohol to change my state.
Or shop. There's lots of things.
Everyone, different strokes, different folks.
Yep.
And so what's really occurring at the core basis of this is, honestly, am I worthy of this? Am I worthy in trying not to feel that overwhelming feeling of I'm either unlovable or I'm not worth it? And the trap, sometimes we end up getting what we want and desire just through sheer will. And what's going on behind the scenes is we're scared. We're going to lose what we got. Because now we have this thing that externally makes us feel better for our internal state. So we're attributing this external success, whether that be relationship, whether that be money, to what's really, missing inside of us. And it's going to, and the more we resist it, the more we suppress it, it just grows and expands, underneath the surface.
Yeah.
And the best part about this is this knowing that, there's nothing really wrong with you.
That's right.
It's just the main thing is that we've been programmed this way in our subconscious states and mind by society, by your parents, by religion, by, all sorts of things that have made us who we are at this point. But the best part is that we can be reprogrammed in that manner. We can change the story.
100%. Now, you've just mentioned something super powerful that allows me to segue into something I want to share with you as well as our audience. And it's called, this is a process that helps us choose to reprogram the things that we don't like in our life. It's called the stimulus response gap. Have you ever heard of it?
I have.
Would you like to explain it, or would you like me to explain it?
I'd like for you to explain it, because I heard
the stimulus response gap is it's all good, brother, because I might say something you didn't know about it, and I'm more than happy to have you reiterate or add to what I share with you here now. Yeah. Stimulus is obviously something that happens on the external part of our life. That's stimulus. Response is how you respond to it. The gap is the amount of time you take to choose either to use a pre-programmed response or recognize that pre-programmed response is not serving you and take more time to think of a better response. So stimulus, the gap, the response. The whole concept here is to be aware enough of what triggers you negatively in those stimuli, because those external stimuli, to either accept that your response is what you want it to be, or accept that the response that you normally use does not serve you and you don't want it to be how you live your life and you want to change it. And to make the choice of thinking, okay, wait a second, I normally go rah at that circumstance, and I don't like the way it makes me feel then or after, or the damage it causes. So I want to change that. You have to have the awareness of that trigger and what it causes for you, positively or negative. You have to take the time to choose a different approach, rewrite the program, and choose something that has a loving balance to it that allows you to learn something, teach something, and become something new. And this is how we grow through these challenges that we face, these things that the universe throws at us that we consider to be that damned obstacle that just, why doesn't that obstacle go away? That obstacle isn't there for you to avoid. It's there for you to learn from so that you can get to the next level. Do you wish to get to the next level, or do you wish to stay where you are and stagnate and just be that whatever it is that you are at the time, and you're afraid that you're going to limit your challenges rather than challenge your limits? So are you going to rewrite the program, or are you going to let the program continue to write you into that rut that you just choose not to get out of? Did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing that you're talking about. And it's this subtle, it's so subtle. You were talking about this stimulus, right?
Yeah.
And the stimulus happens. It's overwhelming. I don't want to feel this. I can't control this. And I'm going to now act in a pattern of behavior that best makes me feel safe, right? So now we're avoiding it. We're resisting it. Resisting would be saying, this is wrong. There's nothing wrong with me. I don't want to feel this way. I'm resisting it. Or then we're reacting like you're talking about, and it's running the show. We're just responding, and we're just, kind of spazzing out here, and we're just reacting to the stimulus that's occurring. And what happens is when we're avoiding, resisting, or reacting, we cut off our supply to our aliveness, to our authenticity, to ourselves. Mm-hmm. And we're getting to a place that we kind of become so distant from our true self altogether.
Yep.
And we're so let down by our behavior and the patterns that we've been acting in that it's hard to not get down on yourself. And it starts this shame cycle, the shame guilt cycle that we can spiral down, because now we're acting in ways that, okay, I used to do this. It made me feel better. And now I feel like shit. And I hate myself because of it.
Again.
I did it again. And now this keeps happening. So this is really where the true healing comes. Mm-hmm. And it's the understanding that it's not all your fault. You're kind of programmed to do this. You can you can change the story, the narrative behind what's going on to allow this to happen for you, to be able to understand the greatest lesson, or the universe is kind of happen in an evolve or repeat cycle. So it's going to repeat until you evolve and learn the lesson that you need to get there.
Bang! But brother, you just nailed it, man. You just nailed it.
So I really want to just get to this place of understanding that, what's coming up when these overwhelming feelings happen, these emotions that just are so uncomfortable that cause us to, the more we keep avoiding, resisting, reacting, again, it cuts us off from our life supply. Yep. We don't feel great about it. We go into that shame and guilt cycle. But what's super important is that it's essentially that inner child when we were like 5-7 years old. It's coming back to the surface. Yep. And I would allude that to an analogy. If you were at Whole Foods and this child comes running up to you while you're shopping and is like, excuse me. And they're crying their eyes out. They're scared. They're overwhelmed. They're freaking out. They can't find their parents. And they're scared, and, essentially, would you just keep shopping? Like, I got things to do. Sorry, no thanks. I can't help you. You're going to avoid the child altogether. Are you going to resist them? Like, hey, there's nothing wrong with you. Go over there in that corner till your parents find you. You're not my problem. Are we going to react and just, feel super anxious with this child? We're going to freak out like, oh my God, where are your parents? I don't know. Let's go find them. I don't know what's happening. Right. Yep. And that's honestly what we're doing to ourselves when this happens.
Yes.
And you see this time and time again. It's so subtle and it's so unconscious, and you don't understand what's happening. And it's hard to even forgive yourself. But you're essentially, when you are allowing that feeling to come into place without judgment, without resistance, and you're able to be that safe place for yourself, for your inner child. So now you're
Which is the
becoming
next level. That's the next level, brother.
Right? You're setting yourself up to be the parent and the child for yourself, the safe space. Because if that child came up to me and I was at Whole Foods, I would listen to this child. I would, reassure them, hey, everything's going to be okay. It's, and ultimately that's what we need to do with ourselves.
That's right.
But it's hard to do that, especially when you're in that, pain or shame or guilt cycle, and you keep cutting off your supply to who you truly are. And it's essentially it's repression. It's suppressing your emotions.
Chosen repression.
Right. And so how that manifests into our relationships is crazy, because now it's essentially, it almost makes me wonder, why did we get in that relationship to begin with? We externally get into this relationship for that to be our success, so we can internally validate and feel better for ourselves, and so when we become the safe space, we're really able to then pour how we truly feel into our relationships, because we're not cutting ourselves off anymore.
That's right. That's right. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Good answer, brother. I really appreciate that. And we've had a great call today. We're well over an hour. Well, not well over, but we're over an hour. And I find that a lot of people won't follow through with watching such a long story, but that's okay. The replay is here, and you can start and stop it with the pause button. But the point remains that there's a lot of content here to cover. And I think we've done a great job. Is there anything we've left out, my brother?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so. I think we really hit so many things that are out there. And it's just great to just honestly be able to communicate that to people. It's just, exactly. Honoring and accepting yourself and being that safe space for yourself will really set you up to be that safe space for other people as well.
Beautiful. Yeah, 100%. And we have to be willing to do that in order to actually be able to do that. We have to choose. We have to be aware of the need and make the choice of filling that need. So, brother, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for sharing who you are and the power of who you are and what you do, brother. You're more than happy. I'm going to go through your links right now. So anybody that wants to contact Brian, this is his Facebook profile. And of course, Brian is also on Instagram. This is an Instagram profile. And if you want to tag him, that's his IG tag. Without the IG, just at Br Gillard, and be in a place where we all understand how important it is to receive help, but more importantly is to understand that we need to ask for that help. If you find yourself in a place where what Brian offers as the healer of relationships, the healer of broken relationships with yourself, with a partner, a brother, a sister, a mother, a father, a friend, a neighbor, the barista down at the coffee shop, whatever the case may be, if you find yourself in need of healing and you resonate with what Brian has to say and his awesomely handsome face. I don't normally invite people on for interviews that are better looking than me, but I love you, Brian, and I would always, be willing to hand off that to you. Is there anything else that you would like to offer the people before we end the broadcast?
Yeah, I just want to invite anyone that's, having trouble or issues in their relationships or dating space to, feel free to reach out. This is a very private call, and it's also free. The first call is always free. And I ideally would like to be able to provide that breakthrough for you. And, if you want to work with me moving forward, then we can talk about all that after that call. But I definitely just want to be able to bring something that helps provide a breakthrough up front.
Awesome, brother. Thank you. And just reach out to Brian in his DMs and his private messaging on either his Facebook profile. I've scrolled through this. You can pause the video to copy this down. They are not clickable links, so you'll have to type it in on your own. But by all means, reach out to Brian and get the healing started. Much love, my friends. Brian, don't go away. I'm just going to end the broadcast and we'll chat a bit at the end. So stay in there, brother. Much love, my friends.
Thank you so much.
Yes, indeed. I hope everybody's had a good day. I hope everybody that needs help reaches out to Brian. And you already know how to reach out to me. I am carpet bombing my marketing, and you know what that means. That means that you can find me almost anywhere. Much love, my friends. Thank you, Brian. Goodbye, everybody.